check. Hey guys, it is your host, Brad Bodnerchuk, back with a brand new podcast, and I am extremely excited to share this week's podcast with you all. Admittedly, I had planned on sitting down and discussing a completely different topic. I was actually planning on sitting down and talking about potty training and using that as an analogy for communication. I do it quite often in the work that I do, but it really is a great analogy, and I look forward to sharing it with you, at a later date. But I wanted to come on and share something else that just came to me as I was interacting with someone online, and I had everything set up. So the camera was ready, the lights were ready, the audio was set to go, and I was going to do this whole potty training communication analogy. And I was communicating online with this person, and something transpired, and I thought, you know what? I have to stop. I have to share this. Now, I don't want to obviously share anything personal about that interaction because that wouldn't be appropriate, but I do want to share this piece. Whether you are a leader of a small to medium-sized business, the demographic that I really am speaking to, or you're just, a general population person, this message is for you. If you're my mom, if you're my aunt, if you're a cousin, if you're a friend, if you're 14, if you're 9, if you're 49, if you're 99, please do me a favor and listen to this. And this isn't any sort of revelation that I've come up with myself. This is stuff that I read and I hear constantly, and I believe it to the marrow of my bones to be true. And it is this: be careful with the words that you say. Be mindful and intentional of the words that you use. And what I mean when I say that is be really aware of what you're saying. And the interaction that I had with this person, it quickly turned into essentially what it turned into was, my interpretation was, this person was now a victim. And everything that they were saying was out of their control. It was negative, and it left them completely powerless. And I thought to myself, man, oh man, I'm hyper aware of what I say and what people in my power circle say, verbally out loud. But also, if we actually write it down, I think that affirms it even more. And you can say that's wishy-washy. You can say that isn't real. You can say there's no truth to that. But I promise you, the tongue is the rudder for your life. If you say life is hard, life will be hard. And don't get me wrong, if you say life is easy, it doesn't mean obviously life is going to be easy. But you gotta believe that people that are hyper aware of their language and don't speak things like negativity, don't speak things like victimhood, you have to believe that the way that they look at things is, I don't even want to say more positive, but it's actually more pragmatic. And if you do want to get into the argument or discussion of positive and negative, which space do you want to spend more time in? And for me, it's the positivity space. Life isn't always easy, but is it always hard? And I'm so challenged by that, meaning the interactions with people on a day-to-day basis, because it's so easy for people to just complain. If it's the summer, it's too hot. If it's the winter, it's too cold. If it's the economy, it's not good enough. If it's gas prices, it's too expensive. You get where I'm going. But when it comes to not just like the narrative about what's happening in the economy or in the world, also be hyper aware of what you're saying about yourself. Are you your biggest cheerleader? Are you actually championing yourself? Are you using appropriate language? And when I say appropriate, are you saying words that are going to actually make you feel good? Or are you saying words that are just going to bathe you in this depressive, negative space? If that's the case, you got to change it. And earlier I said, you have to believe that people, no, it's not about believing. It's true. People that rid their lives of quote unquote dirty language. Things like I can't, I won't, I never will, it's so hard. It's just, if that is what you say, that will continue to be your reality. Pardon me. Again, the tongue is the rudder for the rest of your life. And how is this applicable to, again, the people that I really want to speak to with this podcast, leaders of small businesses or sports teams, just or in the community? If you are in any sort of leadership role, if you are influencing people at all in any way, shape, or form, heck, if you have a podcast, if you have a social media platform, I encourage you to be extremely careful with the words that you use because they carry so much weight. And that's what I wanted to share on today's podcast is just be aware. Ask yourself at the end of the day, how was I with my words? Was I intentional? What did I focus on? Did I focus on the fact that the quote unquote inflation is really bad or the economy is down or it's a recession? Is that true? I actually don't fundamentally know if that is true. And I really do think that a lot of people are using that as a story to back them up to just stay in their current reality. And I think that is just lazy. And I think that is just uninspiring. I don't want to be insensitive. I don't want to be insensitive to the fact that life can be hard. And I'll assume that what anyone shares with me in regards to their reality and it being tough, I assume that all to be true. But does that mean that you have to focus on that? And do you want it to be true tomorrow? Meaning you're in control. You are in control. And the moment that we don't feel we are, you might as well just mail it in. You might as well just mail it in, put in your 75, 80 years, and then just call it a day. Like, guys, girls, men, women, we've got to keep on top of this. Our language, the words that we use will literally steer us to the life that we want or we don't want. It will steer us to our reality. So if you want to spend time bathing in what's going wrong, expect that that is what you can wake up to and will wake up to tomorrow. However, please understand that you have a choice. You have a choice of changing that, of changing your reality. And if you don't believe that is true, I encourage you to do some research on it. Like, look at some of the stories that are out there of what human beings have done. And when they have been in situations where they could so easily be the victim, probably way more so than you and I, they don't. They choose a different narrative and they change their reality. And one of the key indicators or one of the key motivators or one of the key influencers of that change is the words that we speak and the words that we think. And I encourage you, especially if you're writing in an email or writing in a text, even be more hyper aware, because not only are you speaking it into the world, but you're now actually putting it on paper. Your eyes are seeing it. Other people's eyes are seeing it. And that has a massive trickle down effect and a ripple effect. And it's incredible when you get around people that are hyper aware of their words, how light they are, how inspiring they are, how in every situation, not that they're ignorant, they can be very much a realist, but they can find something. They can find something of worth. They can find something, again, for lack of a better term, positive. And for me, it's not about pinning positive against negative. For me, it's just about asking the question, what do you want your life to be? Do you want your life to be hard and miserable and challenging and inflation and recession? Then keep talking about it and keep announcing it that that is your reality. If you don't want that to be, first thing you do is change your words, change the way you speak. That's it. Simple, but also really challenging. If you catch yourself using quote unquote dirty words, hit pause, apologize, rewind, and try it again. And guess what? For most of us listening to this podcast, we get one of the most incredible gifts that there is in the world, and that's an opportunity to wake up tomorrow and do this all again. And what it could look like if you do become hyper aware of the words that you speak. It could be absolutely limitless to what your world and what your reality could be. That's it for me. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. I love doing this. I'm so happy to be back doing the podcast. It fuels me and feeds my soul. And whether one person listens to it or no one listens to it, that's not why I do it. I do it because it's within me and it's a great exercise for me. But I know there's some of you out there that are just so loyal and so supportive. And to you, I say thank you so much. If you're new to the podcast, thank you for stopping by and listening. I hope you took something from this. If you found this podcast beneficial, it would mean the world to me if you would share it with someone else. Also, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to the podcast and rate it. If you rate it, it allows for it to, from an analytic standpoint, rate higher, and then more people will see it, and more people see it, more people hopefully get impacted by this podcast on a positive note. That is it for me. I'm going to grab some water, turn this thing off, and call it a day. Again, I appreciate you all. You know what to do until next time. Be good and do good. Peace.